Hello.
Hello there. Is that Miss Simone?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Hi.
Renee Simone. Yep.
It's DJ Gloss here from Sound Fusion Radio. How are you today?
Hello. I'm very good.
First thing I've got to ask you is the pronunciation of your first name. Is it Renee?
Yeah. My stage name is Miss Renee Simone.
Renee Simone. That's lovely.
Yeah.
What a beautiful name.
Thank you. Thank you so much for featuring me. That's just great. Thank you.
Well, it's wonderful to be able to, and I had listened through all of your album. It's absolutely fabulous, and you go to so many different places on your album. It's there's a bit of reggae and a bit of jazz and a bit of soul and something that's a bit bluesy, and it's just a whole sort of wonderful journey. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about the album, about Raw, about sort of where it came from, and your own sort of inspiration for it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. Well, yeah. Well, I live in an amazing part of the world, a place called Byron Bay in Australia, and it's a very soulful, inspiring, and conscious part of the world, with beautiful climate and pristine beaches, and I guess that already makes for good music. I spend a lot of time with the ukulele and in the hammock, and hanging with friends and that kind of culture. So, music kind of falls out of us quite easily here.
Wonderful.
And it's a melting pot of conscious roots and culture kind of vibe here. So there's a lot of amazing musicians and artists and all sorts of different creative people that come from around the world and find themselves based in Byron Bay. So to call upon players for the album was just, I was so spoilt for choice, and I handpicked just the finest players in the region who
it shows
just got it, and they just got it straight away. I spoke to them. I spent some time chatting to people about what it was that I was trying to achieve, and we jumped in the studio, and they would just go, "What, like this?" And, it was just spot on, and even down to the beatboxing. There's quite a bit of beatboxing on there. There's actually no kit drum on the album. It sounds like there is, but the beatboxer is so good that it sounds like a real drum. Which, at the end I went, I wish it sounded a bit more like it didn't sound real. But, yeah.
That's wonderful.
So, but yeah, we had a great time in the studio. It was full moon when we recorded, and
wow.
the lyrics of the album and the motivation for the actual songs came from. It started out where I went on Facebook and just put a little message out, just saying, asking people, what do we think makes a strong woman? What makes us strong? And then I couldn't believe the responses. People were responding from all age groups and all parts of the world. I mean, that's the beauty of social media, is that
Absolutely.
You can access people from everywhere. I didn't really intend for it to spread so much, but I had people from the 12-year-old girl that was living next door to a 92-year-old lady living in Canada who responded.
Isn't that beautiful?
And everything in between. And people from, I even had a woman who was in a war zone who was, as she was writing to me, she said, we've just had a suicide bombing happen just 10 minutes down the road from me, and then she had to log off, and then she came back on, and she started to tell me stories about her trials and tribulations and what life, the troubles and struggles that she had been through, and what she'd tapped into within her own resources to rise above those scenarios. And it was just amazing. And from that point, I started expanding, and I actually formalized it a little bit more. So I actually contacted people and interviewed them, sat with women, all sorts of different women from all walks of life around Australia, and took notes on what they were saying, or recorded them on my phone, about their stories and about their journeys, and what they'd been most proud of and what difficult scenarios they'd been in and how they got out of it. And that's where you get songs like Sinker and Hook, which is
that is a tune, very much so.
That's a song about, somebody who's been coerced into having sex with somebody that they didn't want to have sex with, and the traps and the stories that the men pull to play these women to end up in bed with them. And that story is universal, Like, the more I got into it, and the more I'd start asking people, "Has this ever happened to you?" And and what did you do? And then what did he say? And then and it's almost like a script, which is what the song is. It's a script,
With Sinker and Hook, you see, now you're telling me that is based around the knowledge of real experience. I wasn't sure if it was a bit tongue-in-cheek or if it was for real, if you know what I mean. But now I know it's based on real experience. Then that puts a different spin on the tune. And wow. I'm going to have to listen again. knowing what I now know, I'm going to have to listen to that again.
That's right. And you'll have to not use any of the lines or tricks in that song, because women are being told now. People know. I was hoping with that song that it'd be like, the honour of being a musician is that we get to be the storytellers, and we get to have our stories captured and put in a time capsule for future generations, and we get to inspire people. I'm so inspired by things that Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday were saying, so for people to be able to hear these songs in the future and to refer back to them, and for young girls to feel inspired by something that a more mature person has told them, which used to be the way that song lines happened. Stories were told through song, and girls were educated through song. I spent some time in Africa, and that's one of the most important ways that when young girls were taught how to behave and how to handle themselves in certain situations was through song and dance. I just pray that song can be one of those songs that younger girls will hear and go, oh, I'm a bit more clued up now. I'm not going to find myself in that scenario. And if I do, and I hear any of those lines, I know I'm going to do a sharp exit. So.
That's very, it's so lovely of you to share that with us, Renee. It really is, because you see that depth of story you can only get from the artist. You can only get by talking to the person that was the creator of that particular piece, and thank you so much. So when our listeners hear that they'll know exactly where that song is coming from. In addition to what they gain from the song, they'll gain so much from you, which is wonderful. I love the idea of that.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
There isn't a tune that I would say I thought was sort of big standing out. They're all magnificent tunes, and I think I wanted to ask you a little bit about Daddy. What's behind Daddy?
Oh, it always surprises me when, that you did the big build-up, the big magnificent tune, and I'm thinking, which one is he going to say?
And I surprised you with that choice.
Yeah. Well, Daddy was written for my daddy.
I guess so.
Surprisingly enough. Mm-hmm. And, that song, it came from a very sad scenario with Dad, where, Dad was born in Jamaica, and he lived there till he was 11, and he's an island boy. And he, in the 50s, like many black people in England now, his parents moved over to England and settled through that the first ship there.
Yes. Yeah.
And he spent a lot of his youth trying to prove himself and trying to be accepted in this foreign land. Mm-hmm. And he found himself trapped in the rat race.
Yes.
To try to be, to try to reach that certain something that he was striving for, which now, sadly, as he's coming to his more senior years of his life, he's starting to realise that that's all just smoke and mirrors, and that that isn't where it's at. That isn't a good life. That's what Babylon wants you to believe is a good life. So
that's the conditioned life.
You.
Yeah, I understand.
That's right. So he did all those things, and he played by the rules, and now he's he's not a happy man, and when I spoke to him and he actually was honest with me about where his life had led him and the choices that he'd made, it just gave me so much grief. And I was begging and begging and begging for him to come over to Australia and just be in the sunshine again and just take off his shoes and unwind. I mean, he works in a prison, so it's extreme. It's not that he's just got... I'm not talking about a 9 to 5. I'm talking about 7, 8, 9-hour days in prison as a prison warden. And, he's losing his colour. He's almost white now, just from being indoors for years and years.
No vitamin D.
And, no, and he leaves the prison and gets in his car, which he'd worked very hard for, obviously, and it's a good car, and to him, that was, okay, well, I've made it because I've got my good car, and he drives it in the traffic jam for the 20 minutes it takes him to get home, and then that's it. He goes to bed, and then he wakes up and he does it all again.
Yes.
So this song was just a desperate cry to my daddy to come and be with me out here in Australia and get back into the sunshine and take that prison out of his mind, literally, the prison of conditioning. Let that go and go back to the sunshine and go back to being that island boy, that youthful spirit that he always is. Such a chirpy, fun, dynamic, great guy, and I'm just watching him just wither away slowly in this awful structure.
Without knowing the details, I felt that in the song, which is why I had to ask you about it. Yeah,
well, after I wrote the song, I was rehearsing it so much and playing it on my ukulele and just, showing people and kind of workshopping it. And, that's the power of song, was that he didn't know that I'd written a song about him, and he called me up one day and said, I've booked a ticket to Australia.
Oh, wow.
And, that's where I really, really started to feel that it's so important what we sing about and so important what we put out there, because, the universe responds.
Absolutely. And, that's so right.
It was such a magical experience for him to have come over, and he spent a couple of months with me out here and really did unwind. And it was just at the time that I was releasing the album, recording the album. So he got to see me recording the track.
I love that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he was just in tears, of course, but and so now when he's in his car, he plays the album in his lovely car while he's in his traffic jam. But the end of that story is that he's now left that prison, and he's retired, and he's talking about coming and spending time here, and this is huge, and it's a great result to a beautiful song.
Wow, what a beautiful story to go with all of that, and I'm so glad I picked that one to ask about. I'm so glad. Not to say there wouldn't be a beautiful story to go with every other tune that you've written there, and but it's just so nice to hear that, and your dad obviously very proud of you. That comes across in what you said there, and for him to come and spend some time down in Australia, where the weather's a little bit kinder, and that sort of thing, I think is lovely, especially now he's retired. That's really beautiful, and thank you so much. Very personal, and thank you for sharing that with us. That's lovely.
No, thank you.
Can I ask you some questions sort of further back in your life, Renee, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Really, my first question as far as further back in time, is about how you came to music, or perhaps how music came to you. Because for many, it's not a choice thing; it just is, you know.
Well, music for me was my. I was always grounded as a child. I was forever being sent to my room and couldn't seem to get anything right, you know. So I was in my room, and I used to play my mum's records in the lounge room all day long, and she had a brilliant vinyl collection. And I basically, they just got so sick of me playing the records so loud in the lounge room that they put the record player in my bedroom, and they said, "Don't do it in there, go away." So I would just, you know, in my being told I'm not allowed to go out and play, I'd be in my bedroom and listening to records and making mixtapes and, you know, creating gifts for friends through my mixtapes, and just really just exploring all the old greats, you know, all the from, like I mentioned before, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, and all the way through to she's got an amazing 70s soul collection, so Randy Crawford, people like Shaka Khan, it just goes on and on, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, the whole, you know, all
the massive A-list, yeah.
All the obvious, yeah.
Wonderful.
And, and so that's where I got it from. And, you know, listening to Nina Simone, lying on the floor with the lights off, or Nat King Cole, Harry Belafonte, everyone, Diana Ross, you know.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
And so, I mean, it's just become a part of my history, because I, you know, it was a soundtrack to my life. I would make tapes that were from these records and then play them on my Walkman on the school bus, or have them playing while we're at the park, you know, on my little boombox in the 80s, you know.
Yeah, so, we all have one of those. Yeah, I used to have one that went everywhere with me on my shoulder, yeah. Fond memories.
Yeah, that's it. So, you know, so that's where my love of music came from, and that particular genre became for me, the foundation of my understanding of music and what is good music. And now when I think back, I used to, you know, flick through all these albums, and I had my favorites, and I'd pick my favorite songs, and I'd understand why that was my favorite song and what did I love about it. Was it the lyrics? Was it the groove? Was it the, you know, and this is where I developed my ear for music, my understanding of the way that music moves people. And then I had my own record collection that began in the 80s. My first record was Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth.
Wonderful tune. I remember it well. I had it on 12-inch single myself.
And actually, in saying that, that was the first record that I bought. My granddad bought me my first ever record that I owned, which was Brown Girl in the Ring by Boney M.
Wow.
That was my first ever song, yeah.
Wonderful. I actually own a copy of that record too. So
Oh, did you? Oh, there you go, you see?
Well, yeah, no, it was they were kind of musts back in the day, you know. They were tunes that you had to have in your collection, if you know what I mean. Absolutely wonderful tunes of, you know, shall we say, a different age, but there we go. Yeah,
a different era. Well, I'm still spinning those tunes now. So I started.
Me too.
Just playing at parties and different events, and just playing my mum's record collection and my record collection, and because my mum gave me all the records because she didn't have a record player because I had it.
It was in your room.
So, so I inherited a fantastic collection, and and so it's still a very huge part of my everyday life. So it's a joy, and I really thank her for that.
So what brought you to the microphone? I mean, playing records and listening to music's one thing, but what brought you to discover that amazing voice that you have? Well, it's an interesting thing because I didn't really know that I could sing, and
I used to just, sing along to things and sing with friends. And I guess we've all had our karaoke experiences. And when I was at university, I'd, jump up and sing, and people would really clap and cheer and go, that was amazing. And I think it sort of happened a bit by surprise. And my family are very musical, so my uncle is an amazing musician based there in London with you guys, Root Jackson from SBI.
Yeah.
And
wow.
His son, my cousin Oja, he's a musician as well, and then my cousin Vanessa Simon, she's a beautiful artist too. She's just got this divine, luxurious voice. And so I grew up listening to because whenever they released anything, any of their rare vinyl, they would give me a copy.
Wonderful.
So that just became part of my record collection. So I'd be singing along to those and just dreamed of being able to one day sing with people like that. And I think that what really happened was I had a baby, and I was asked to join a band. I was a backing singer in a reggae band for a while, and it's just a bit of fun. And I think that's where I sort of developed my stage confidence. And then I got asked to sing in a little Hawaiian band because I was playing ukulele, and there was another guy who was an Indonesian islander guy, and another brilliant guy on guitar from Indonesia as well. And we had this beautiful island flavor, and we called ourselves Blackbirds, and we ended up being quite successful with that little trio. And we started touring, and we did a little album, and it was selling really well, and it just started to become a thing. It just sort of happened to me, really. And then since then I've released my solo album, which is Raw, which is the album that you're featuring.
Yes,
and
that's right.
The thing with Blackbirds is that we sang, first of all, we started singing Hawaiian songs, and then we evolved into singing more pop songs, but in that Hawaiian flavor.
Yes.
And then we moved out of the Hawaiian and let that go because none of us are Hawaiian. And but just kept that real island essence about our music, which is what just made it so intricate and beautiful. You can find that music as well online, and the band was Blackbirds. And so, well, the thing with the band Blackbirds was that we were I won't call it a cover band as such, because everything we did was a very, very interesting twist on songs that people would know. So one of my favorites was we did Just Be Good to Me by SOS Band, and then obviously covered by Beats International. But our version, you wouldn't even recognize that it was either of those songs, but it's a song in its own, but you'll recognize the lyrics. And so that was a beautiful thing. But I had one song on that album that I wrote myself, and I wanted to write more, and there was a little bit of a difference of opinion within the band about whether we should just continue to do what we were doing or whether we should branch into writing our own material. And the decision as a group was that we didn't want to write our own material. So I was then, forced into having to create my own project if I was to write my own material. So that was a beautiful, natural shove to encourage me to spill those things that have been bubbling in me for such a long time, and those receipts and bits of paper and bits of napkins under the bed, and actually putting them together and writing those songs and bringing them to life, and that's where Raw evolved from.
That's absolutely lovely. And you say, I didn't really know I had a voice, and Angus Stone says, a voice like tiramisu, topped with smooth chocolate sauce. I think he's right. I really do think he's right. That's lovely.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much. So kind. I think what I've grown to learn is that, that your voice is not really your own, and once you really do surrender to that channeling, that it's just it's actually nothing to do with me. It's just, it just comes through me. It comes out of me, and it is what it is. And I thank God for giving that to me, because I certainly didn't, do anything to make that happen.
It comes from that within you, which is divine, and that's lovely.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing, and to recognise that and to say that, I think is also a very wonderful thing too. The future, where do you want to go? What's the thing?
At the moment, I've got an amazing little trio of musicians that I'm working with. In fact, they're not little; they're big guys, big Aussie funk groove masters. They're just so fun and so funky.
Sounds good.
So easy to work with, and it just makes such a difference when you're working with people who are inspired and easygoing and relaxed, but focused and super talented. So we've just been getting together since I got back from the UK, and we started writing. And so the album that you're featuring at the moment, Raw, is very sexy, very sultry, with an element of with a bit of Afrobeat. And like you said, it's very eclectic, so it kind of moves through reggae and a little bit of jazz, soul.
It has many destinations in my mind, yes, without a doubt. Yeah.
The next recording that I'll do will be a lot more hard-hitting. It's going to have drum kit rather than percussion and beatbox, and electric bass rather than double bass, which is what you're hearing on Raw. And the songs will be a lot more dancey, because the album Raw was about women and their struggles and the ways that women navigate their way through life. And the next album is going to be about, okay, we know that now, we've done that now, let's boogie.
That sounds absolutely brilliant, because I think there's a lot of boogie going on behind the scenes here that we haven't heard yet.
Oh, thanks, Glossy. It's such a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you.
No problem at all. And if there's anything that you'd like to say to your fans across the world, point them at your social media, point them at your website, point them at your Facebook and places to buy your tunes and all of those things, then please feel free to take as long as you want just to talk them through that right now.
So you can find me at www.missreneesimone.com, and I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram at the moment. I'm just loving just putting pictures up of my travels. I love drinking margaritas, and I love street art. And I raise a family, and you can see pictures of me with my children and things that I do behind the scenes. And it's a lot more of a personal approach. And if you want to hear about where I'm playing, I usually put that stuff more on Facebook. And and if you want to contact me, you can contact me through any of those platforms or through my website. And I'd love to. It's all very live and direct. It's not, I don't have anybody who answers my messages, or it's me. So, and I love to email people and talk to people who are interested in the music, and I've developed relationships with lots of people around the world through that. So please do feel free and feel welcome to hit me up, and let's chat. Thanks, guys. Wonderful.
That's lovely. The wonderful Renee Simone, Miss Renee Simone. Absolutely wonderful talking to you today. I want you to have an absolutely lovely rest of your day, although it's quite late in the day where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bedtime, and we're the opposite of you. So
yeah, that's right.
We've finished today already.
So Wednesday is over for you, and you're almost Thursday now.
Yeah, but I'll let you know, it was a really good day.
Wonderful. Well, so we've still got... we've still got it to come.
You're in for a treat.
I'll tell you what, I'll put it this way to you. You have an absolutely blessed and beautiful Thursday, and enjoy it to the max. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we can speak again very, very soon.
All right, until next time, Gussie.
Yeah, take care. Look after the planet down there, and we'll look after it up here, and hopefully it'll all be good.
All right, that's a deal.
Take care.
If you want to come on holiday, come and hit me up as well, because it's beautiful here.
Do you know, I'm the only person in my family that's never been to Australia, so I might take you up on that.
Oh, there you go. All right.
I might take you up on that. That's wonderful. Thank you so very much. So very kind of you. Have a lovely, lovely evening and night. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.